Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Um, I'm gonna try not to start with but thank you guys for coming around this Saturday evening. I'm not gonna hold you long because, like I said, this was a last minute live that I was doing, and I know most people are out. Usually, I'm out and about or doing something other than YouTube. But this story needed to be talked about. And hey Shay, how are you, sweetie? I heard, I might, play around a little bit and talk crazy and talking about fighting and everything. Hey, Hurricane, how are you, sweetie? But there's some things in life that is so real that we seem to overlook because we're into what's going on, not only in our lives, but what's going on in YouTube, especially if you are a person that's a YouTuber and you enjoy being on YouTube. You seem to get distracted by some of the things like the drama and the things that you see. And we forget about the most things that are important. And for those who have children, hey, Captain Wolf. Those who have children, you should be very protective over your children because we're living in a world where people do not value innocent life. Um, yes, Shay, glad you're here. I was listening to some sad. All right. Yeah, I was listening to TY and the crew. Uh, and I was listening to them for a minute. But then I ran across this story that was really crazy to me. How people just steal the lives of innocent children. Hey, Meek Meek. And it's called Demonic People Steal the Life of the Innocent. And I don't know if y'all have just been just watching the news. Like I said, you can't believe everything the news say. But when it comes to children being affected in this way, being discarded like trash, especially any child, let's just say any child. I don't care if they are Hispanic, if they're white, if they're black. But because I am black, um, this story touched me because I have little baby nephew and nieces, and if I'm just thinking, if my nephews got I have older nephews, so I have, let me restate that I have great nephew and nieces because my sister was basically old enough to be my mom, and so I grew up with my nephews. So when they have children with their wives, I'm praying. I always pray that they would have decent people that they marry, because when things happen in relationships, people take it out on children, and children are innocent. Hey, Cece, how you doing, sweetie? And yes, it is so much demonic activity going around, and I don't know how people can't believe in the good and evil. We see it in people how they operate, and that's why you should be very careful who you connect your life with, who you have children with. And then once you two do break up or you decide to go your separate ways, if you decide to get into another relationship with someone, please make sure that it is someone that values life, that is a decent person, that not only do they, if they have children, that they value their children, but they will value yours. Because children are a prized possession. They are precious to us. Um, and you just have to really be careful. Captain Wolf, them dudes really hate folks. Who hate folks? I don't know who you talking about. You gotta tell me who you talking about. But I want to share this clip with you, those who are listening and those who come in. I just really think you should be mindful of the people you interact with. You don't know if these people have the same mindset as far as how to deal with children, or how to be in a relationship. Most people don't even know how to do that. So you just really have to be very careful on how you deal with dealing with people and making sure that they are not crazy. And I'm going to share this with you and let me know if you guys can hear it.
The breaking news alert. A family in mourning. On the day we learned her alleged kidnapper will face federal charges in her disappearance, friends and family are set to gather to honor the far too short life of Wynter Cole Smith. Kidnapping and death of 2-year-old Wynter Smith has broken so many hearts across Metro Detroit.
Really has. We've been telling you about the federal charges announced a few hours ago against her mother's former boyfriend. If possible, the case becomes even more disturbing as we learn more about how little Wynter died. Mara McDonald has been going through the documents. Mara, this is tough.
Kimberly, it's awful. I want to show you what's happening behind me. Wynter's basically paternal family is out here prepping for a vigil. We're going to take you to that as soon as that starts in a little bit. But I've talked to her grandmother, her paternal grandmother out here tonight. They have seen what the federal prosecutors have charged here, and what they are saying is that Wynter was strangled to death with a pink cell phone cord. Rashad Trice is accused of kidnapping and kidnapping leading to death. The feds spell out with pictures and text messages what they say happened here. Trice was in Lansing Sunday night in a terrible fight with Wynter's mother. They were arguing over money. It was violent and physical. When she ran for help, they say Trice snatched Wynter, who is not his child, and then began his trek down to Metro Detroit, ultimately killing the little girl by strangling her with a pink cell phone cord, parts of which were found in the car he stole, as well as on Wynter's body, where he dumped her on the city's east side. The feds providing text messages from Trice's uncle, telling him he can help him, that it's all Wynter's mother's fault. In his reply, you can see where his thought process was.
How can you attack a 2-year-old? Like, how can a grown man attack? I can't process that, and that's going to take time. And so the family is, I know for me, I can speak for me, I'm looking for mental health.
Back here live, vigil going to start here shortly. And I think there's an important distinction to be made, Kimberly and Devin. These are federal charges coming out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Western District of Michigan. That means Grand Rapids. And because these are federal charges, it means Trice, if he is convicted, is death penalty eligible. We are live on Detroit's East Side. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
This whole story just absolutely heartbreaking, Mara. We appreciate your reporting.
It was another thing I want to share with you too.
Everybody was hoping for this kind of an outcome, but about 24 hours ago, this is where the discovery was made of Wynter's body in this alley here. But as you can see, there is a memorial. And I'll tell you, when I was here this morning, there was nothing. And now you can see even the Detroit Police Department, they showed up and put a balloon and a stuffed bear on that memorial. And there's going to be a vigil later on. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But it was a very sad day. It was a day for mourning. People finding out that little Wynter Smith, just 2 years old, was found dead, not the result that anybody wanted. And yes, I did have a chance to talk to the family. It's heartbreaking, but take a look.
Why me? Like, why?
A.J. Smith, the father of 2-year-old Wynter Cole Smith.
I'm angry that she's gone. I'm angry she had to deal with that. I'm sad I didn't get to see her. I'm sad I don't get to be with her. I'm sad I wasn't here for her.
So many emotions for this 24-year-old senior at the University of Tennessee Martin, a receiver for the football team and trying to further himself to have made a better life for himself and Wynter.
My son, he worked so hard to go to college to play football so he could live a dream for him and Wynter.
I used to keep some stuff and then tell her mom, like, I lost it, like I forgot to pack it. And I'm glad I did, so I can hold on to it.
The little memories are so big now that 2-year-old Wynter was found by FBI agents Wednesday night in the alley on Detroit's east side after a 3-day search that spanned over 90 miles from Lansing to St. Clair Shores. You've got flyers, bring Wynter home. When you look at him now, what goes through your mind?
it hurts.
How could somebody harm a little child? Like how could you see yourself like on top of a child or hurting a child or whatever he did to her? We don't know, but he killed her and we don't know how he did it. But how can you like just fight a kid? You know what I'm saying?
A lot of this just doesn't feel real. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously, the father, AJ, very broken up, just talking. And he's got a lot to think about. But people want to know what happened to Wynter. We may never know that. Now, there is a suspect in custody. This is the same suspect that was arraigned yesterday for allegedly stabbing and sexually assaulting the mother. Although we talked to the prosecutor's office today, no new charges relating to the kidnapping and ultimate murder that could come later on. We are here tonight because there's going to be a vigil right pretty much where I'm standing. You can already see residents here and people from across the area coming here to pay their respects to a little too.
And I'm sorry for stopping it right here, but I wanted to and hello to everybody that came in. I wanted to, and I got some statistics, um, and it's really unfortunate. And this is according to the Child Welfare Information Gateway statistics. And starting in 2019, there has been an increase. In 2018, it was 1,780 children that were killed. In 2019, it was 1,840 children, and it increases every year. A child has been taken from this earth because there is some adult that cannot handle his emotions and have so much demonic energy, they want to take poor little children's lives. These children haven't even grown up to be whatever they were going to be. You probably had a child that could have, uh, I would say, cure cancer or AIDS, or be the first woman president, or be the first person to discover something, or make something, create something. They are taking children's lives, that's futures that haven't even started. They haven't even started. And people are doing this senselessly because of their emotions, whatever they dealt with as a child, and they're taking it out on other kids. And that's why I say, people, it's very important who you connect with, who you hook up with when you have children. You want to make sure that these whoever you connect with, they are a decent enough person that they, just like I said before, they will value your kids just like their own. And that is so hard to come by, because it's like so many people are cold in nature. They're numb from feeling anything. What kind of mind would get a telephone cord, choke a 2-year-old baby, and discard her like trash in the alley? Now, I can talk a lot of mess on here and get into drama and be telling y'all about stories all day. But this is what's going on in the world as we know it. And I always say the world is not bad, but the people in it are horrible. We have some horrible people out here that care nothing about nobody's life, including their own. And I hope and pray, and I know I shouldn't hope anything bad like this, but hopefully he will get what he deserves in prison. Someone hopefully will strangle him to death. This is unfortunate because it happens every day. Some child, You might not even know that child. They are going through abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's verbal abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's in a foster care system, whether it's at home with a two-parent home or a single parent home. Children are being abused and nobody's doing anything about it. I often question myself, me working in the school system, if I knew or seeing a child that I felt like abused, would I report it or would I say it's none of my business? I would hope that I would have enough heart to report it. But sometimes you're not for sure. It was some signs of a little boy that I felt like could have been abused physically, because every time I would say, for instance, just try to, get his attention or, touch him or, something like that, he would think I'm trying to hit him. So I don't know. And he was autistic. And instead of him talking, he would cry and scream. Right. So I was trying to see, hi Don, how are you, sweetie? I was kind of watching him to see if there was something that was going on with him, because he was a foster child. So I didn't want to jump to conclusions. So you kind of have to observe things, because it could be because the child has been from foster home, right? So they're a little jumpy. They don't really trust people because of the things that they've been through and going from place to place. But I hope and I believe that I have a heart. If I really feel like a child is being abused in any kind of way, that I will report it. I don't care if it's in my family. If I see something in my family, if I see a child that I feel like they're doing something to a child and that is my flesh and blood, I'm going to report it. I'm going to observe it to see if it's actually something that I need to report. And when people get into these relationships, this young lady, she wasn't in the relationship with her baby father. So she was in a relationship with this guy. His last name is Trish. I believe that's how you say it. I forgot his first name. I was so upset. I forgot his first name, but um, she got into a relationship with this guy. They were already having domestic problems. They were already fighting and doing a lot in the household. And this little 2-year-old baby is seeing all of this violence. And in a prior interview, the baby's father said that he sensed it was some jealousy with him and his child, because the man also has a child himself. So he didn't harm his child, but he harmed somebody else's child. So not only did he stab and sexually assaulted the girlfriend, he got the child, ran and got the child, strangled her with a telephone cord, and just threw her in the back in the back of the alley. These people are cold. To not there was a time when every now and then you would hear a story about child abuse or a child being killed, but it was few and far in between. I know when my grandparents was coming up, that was unheard of, because really they didn't see things as child abuse when they got the switch off the tree or a shoe to whoop you with. They didn't think that was child abuse. But there was very few incidents of children being killed. I would say very few and far in between. I would say from maybe 20s to 1920s to 19, I would say 60s or 70s. 80s, it maybe was some, and then of course the 90s, some children were kidnapped and wasn't, were missing and never found. Then in the 2000s, it started to increase even more. And each year it increases. It increases with people. Hey, Gartrell. It increases with people having no regard, no love for children. They are the most innocent beings because they haven't even lived life enough to sin and do all the things that a grown up has experienced. Some of these kids don't even have all their teeth. you know, they haven't even went to school. And to experience what they have experienced at such a young age, and some of them not even being able to live out their life, is very heartbreaking. And it should be very alarming to us as adults, as we have children and we deal with the opposite sex or deal with other people, to always remember your child is your prized possession. It is your child. Hey Liz, it is your child is one of the most valuable creations you could ever have made or ever have in this life. And you should be very cautious on how their lives are affected because of your choices, because every choice that we make as adults, their lives are going to be affected, whether good or bad. And not only are children being killed because of domestic violence with other partners that their mother or father get involved with. Some small children are sold into trafficking, whether it's sex trafficking, whether it's trafficking that has to do with labor. you know um 27 of trafficking victims are children, guys, and this is in the United States. So that's 2/3 of trafficking victims, which would be 4 million children. 4 million children a year. And I'm gonna, like I said, this is with the child welfare information. You can look up some of these statistics online. Oh, okay. People's souls are so cold on this planet, they don't give two shits. Correct, D. I can remember when if a family had somebody in the penitentiary, they wouldn't talk about it. Now everybody knows someone is locked up. Right. It's some wild, dark documentaries out there on this. Right. It's so many children not only sold into sex trafficking and providing labor, that it's sickening. And then some of these children go missing and they're never found. And then you go in the hoods with the women that have to have a man. And then they don't care if the man beat them. Sometimes they don't care how crazy the man is. They will still get involved with a man just to have a man. And that's not just blacks, that's all races of people. People are drawn to toxic relationships and toxic people because they're toxic, and then their little innocent children are sitting there looking at it. And then when it all falls apart, the child is the one that also gets killed with the other party. They always, not only, and some, I'm talking about some of the men, but it's women that kill men too. But when you have these incidents that happen, these unfortunate things, it's usually the woman, she can't be without a man, and she deals with anything just to have a man. And when she's sick and tired of him going upside her head, she wants him gone. Then after he's like, I'm not going nowhere, but I know what I can do. I can kill you, and then I can kill your child, because if I can't have you, nobody will. I did a story of something kind of like this, probably a few months ago, guys. I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was a young lady in her 20s. She was in a domestic violence relationship with this guy that she was dating for a minute. Everything seemed fine, but they ended up getting to a really bad argument. He stabbed her like over, I think, 20 something times. And as he stabbed her and took her life, he got the child. I don't know if he strangled the child, but somehow he got the child and threw the child into a lake that was full of alligators. And that was in, I think, what was it? St. Lauderdale, Florida. And that was a few months ago. And now this is happening in Detroit, Michigan. People, we got to be careful what we're doing. And if we do see any violence, if we do see any abuse, because it is in every ethnic group. It's not just in the hood where Black people are. It's where the white people, it's with the Hispanic people, it's with everybody. When I looked at the statistics, the lower, when I looked at the statistics on abuse or any type of reports of children dying of violence or malnutrition, the other races, so I'm assuming other races could be like Asian, maybe Native American or Indian, they were 2% down to 104%, where Hispanics, Blacks, and whites, it's a high number. The highest number in some of the malnutrition cases, where of course they don't feed the kids, they allow the kids to die hungry because they are not feeding them the uh, proper foods and nutrition, is in the white ethnic group, which is shocking. So the white group is 550%, and then they have the Black is 457%, and then Hispanic is 173, and the other races are very low. And so but it happens. It really happens. So, guys, this is not, I'm trying not to be a Debbie Downer, because like I said, I can talk about different other things, about what's going on in my life, and talking about going off on people and doing this and doing that. But when it all said and done, this kind of stuff is what people need to pay attention to, because our children are our future. So even though I don't have children, I teach children. So I'm teaching children so that they can have a better future for their lives. And the parents really have a very large responsibility in that as well. You have to protect your children. You have to see that your children are in a healthy environment than you were in. I talked about generational curses months ago, and how a lot of times we take on the generational curses that our grandparents had, or our great grandparents had. There was domestic abuse. It maybe happened with your great grandparents and trickled on down to you. So you see domestic abuse as normal. It's a part of life. It's okay every now and then to have a tussle, or to have somebody slap you every now and then. That shows they love you. See, that's the kind of toxic mindset that a lot of people have. And then they end up in these volatile relationships. And their children at a young age, 1, 2 years old, is seeing all of this. And children's mind are very impressionable. Not only that, but once something I would say at the age of 5 is entered into a child's mind, they never forget it. They never forget it. It has put an imprint on their being, on their mindset. And that imprint, whether good or bad, makes an impact on a child's life. It impacts the way a child sees the world, how a child sees people, how a child operates day to day. They're very impressionable at a young age. And when they're very young, a lot of imprints, sometimes bad, can alter a child's life. So we must be careful what we do in front of our children. We must be careful what we do to our children. We must be careful what we say to our children, because what we speak is either life or death to them. So if we speak life to them, they will catch on to it. They will be more confident within themselves. They will be more motivated to do the right thing. We don't have to stay in our generational curses. We don't have to pass our generational curses to our children or our grandchildren or our nieces and nephews if we don't have children. We can make sure we be a curse breaker. And what I mean by that, stop the toxic behavior. Teach your children or teach your nephews and nieces other ways of being. A lot of things we can do just in spending time or talking and being around and showing our little ones how to be. But it starts with us. I can be up here all day telling y'all this, but if I don't help my own little nephew and nieces, or if I was to get married and have children, if I don't take it and give it to my children or my nephew and nieces, I am doing them a disservice. Don't let your next generation be in the same generational curse that you were in, your mom and daddy was in, their mom and daddy was in. Break that. And a lot of times it's about renewing your mind. And the only way you can renew your mind is actually being connected to something bigger than yourself. You'll always hear me say that because it's really what it comes down to. I don't go around telling people what to believe in, but what I do understand very clearly is that you have to be connected to something that is bigger than you. You can't always depend on yourself. Yes, you have to depend on yourself sometimes because you are responsible for you, but at the same time, you have to have a connection with a higher power. Renewing your mind is basically taking the old mindset, your old patterns, and getting rid of them and replacing them with the right things. Where you think I'm going to stay broke, start making steps to getting out of being broke, saving money, putting money back, not spending it on foolishness every time you have it. That's what I was doing. I'm breaking the generational curse of living from paycheck to paycheck. I'm determined and I'm making steps. That's about renewing your mind, where it's saving money, paying off your debt. That even comes with dealing and teaching your children. You have to even renew their little minds. Where in school, I always tell the kids, if you believe you can't do it, you can't. You have to believe in yourself first that you can do it and make steps on working at it. And that's just like being a parent, I believe. What you saw in your household, you knew it wasn't right. You knew it wasn't the positive thing in, and that it made an imprint on your life in a negative way. So do different than what you have been through. You had to deal with your parents cussing you out. Do different and speak life to your children instead of cussing at them. It's always a renewing of your mind. That's how we get our minds back on track. Where we was going negative, when we were going over here, when we renew our minds, we get it back centered. We get back connected to the source. Everybody's source is different for them. My source is us having a relationship with God, the creator who made me. Getting back centered in that. It is a process. There is nothing that happens overnight. Renewing your mind is something that is constantly, you have to renew. Hey, Harley, you have to constantly renew. Be life, speak life to your children instead of saying, get your ass over here. Get your stupid ass over here. I was in a grocery store, and I think that's verbal abuse. I'm just going to be honest with you. I was in a grocery store maybe a couple of months ago. I can't even remember the day and the time, but I was in a store and it was a lady that was talking to her child, and she's like, get your stupid ass over here. I told you, get your dumb ass over here. And I'm thinking to myself, that is so disrespectful. Even though that is your child, even children have to have a level of respect, I believe. Some of these parents are so verbally abusive, they don't even see themselves as being verbally abusive because they were used to being talked to like that as a kid. Even when my dad would say certain things, I knew wasn't right. So why would I say it to my little nieces and nephews or my children? Yeah, Harley. Why? I'm just passing down a generational curse of verbal abuse. Yep, realists they were. She was a black young lady. Seemed like she could have been in her early 20s. I think she had a hair bonnet or some kind of hair scarf on her head coming in the grocery store. You see it every day. Either they have a hair bonnet or hair scarf. And walking around there with them kids with a basket full of junk food. And like I said, it's in every ethnic group. It ain't just black. Let's just be clear on that. I see it in every race, every ethnic group, where it's children that are not being taught because their parents have not been taught. And they're falling by the wayside. And if you are a mentor, even if you don't have children, if you're a mentor, or if you're an uncle or aunt, or you any type of adult that you are around children, make sure that you value them because they are our future. They are important. They are special. And to constantly speak death upon them, that puts a really bad imprint upon their lives. And then they live that particular thing that you call them, they actually start to live it out. Some kids that have been called dumbass, stupid ass, you're worthless, they actually play that out in their real lives. My boys are my life. I couldn't imagine damaging them or putting them in harm's way. Right, Harley? And with you, I believe, I don't know if you're a single mother, but with you, you even have to be even more careful when you're a single mother or a single father, because you just don't know who sometimes people really are. Some people come off as a knight in shining armor or the good little church girl that you met. And they could be the worst person, a demon in disguise. And once you're done with them, they want to harm your children. Just like this beautiful little girl, this beautiful little Black girl that haven't even lived a full life. At 2 years old, somebody, because of the evilness that they had in their hearts, decided to strangle them to death. Not have a care in the world, not have any sympathy, not have any empathy for another human life, and a baby at that. This is what the world has came to. This is what the world has really come to. It's really sad. They don't have no type of remorse. I think a lot of people just go around just numb. I don't know if it's the drugs that most of these people take, or if it's drugs and demonic energy that these people have to make them feel like this is okay. We are all responsible for some child somewhere. I don't care if it's like I said, I don't care if it's the little boy down the street that you talk to, that you mentor, or that likes you, or a little girl that likes you, and a lot of times kids are attracted to people that have a good spirit. Hey Nene, how are you, sweetie? When children see that you have a good spirit, they can sense that. Babies, little children, they can sense that. But they also can sense when you're not such a nice person either. They are very standoffish with you. They holler and scream. They want to get away from you. So sometimes children can pick up that too. And so when you see your children or your little nephew and nieces or somebody that you mentor doesn't like being around a certain adult, that you might have to pay attention to. Because it could be that adult is threatening to them. That adult is doing something to them. Pay attention. Don't put things under the rug just because it's not your child. And this story has made me even more conscious of, like, even when I go back to school, to really just pay attention, because it could be a child in my class, God forbid. But it could be a child in my class that could be on the news. And had I not paid, since I wasn't paying attention, I could have done something to avoid that from happening to that child. All I'm saying is pay attention. Hey, watch them niggas. How are you, sweetie? Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to your loved ones' children. Make sure that if you do have small children, watch the people that you get involved with. And take your time with getting involved with people before you introduce them to your children. You need to first know, is this person a decent person? Does this person value life? If they value their life, if they value their own children's life, then 9 times out of 10, they will value your life in your children's life. But if you have somebody that's just there for the fun, just to smash every now and then and act like he care every now and then, but he's not consistent and he's violent, or he's some type of way, just has a violent behavior, you need to pay attention. And the same thing with a woman. I think it was a couple of years ago, a man got involved with a woman and he ended up marrying her. She ended up putting his child, I think, scalding her with hot water. She was a little girl, scalding the little girl with hot water, and the little girl ended up dying. I forgot how the child was, but it was back on, I think I saw it on Trey King's live. Trey King, he's a YouTuber. And see that kind of stuff right there, I really believe they should be beat to death or stoned to death. Back in the olden days, you know, they used to stone people. I'm like, whenever you do harm to children, you definitely you definitely need to, I would just say, be destroyed. Literally. But why would a grown woman, because, and I'm assuming she got into it with the husband, and since that wasn't her child, she decided to put boiling water and put it and throw it on a child. It wasn't her child. It was his child. But no respect of life. No respect that this could have been my child. But since it's not my child, I'm going to do harm to that child. I wish a person would. Let me have a child, somebody do. You will see me on the news because I would have killed them. And I say no remorse or regret when I do it, because my child was innocent. And for you to think you have the right to abuse or do anything to my child, I am just like Mama Bear. Hey, Brooklyn. I'm a Mama Bear. And I'm like that with my nieces and nephews, let alone and my children. If I had some children, I'm going to be hell. I'm just going to tell you now. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, let somebody, I will be on the news. Something going to happen. And it ain't going to be me. It's going to be them. So be protective over your life, because what you do in your life, it's going to come back on your children. It will affect your children, whether it's good or bad. So make sure you treat yourself good by being in relationships with people that are actually worth it. And that goes by taking time, getting to know people, not rushing into something, taking time for them to get to know your children. Observe how they treat their family. Observe how they treat their children if they have children. Observe. Like I said, sometimes we are fooled. But when you see a glimpse of anything that is not right, that could be detrimental, even if you think it's a little thing, pay attention. Pay attention to how your children interact with that person, how your children feel around that person. Pay attention. Had this young lady paid attention and quit just wanting to be with a man, she wouldn't have been in the position she was to be stabbed and sexually assaulted, and her child would not have died, or not, have not been killed. But because of her poor decision of choosing the scum of the earth, her child was taken from this world. So, not going to hold you long. I just want to make you guys aware that what you do in your life is going to affect your children in a good or a negative way. And that's going to really depend on you, especially when they're small children and they can't defend themselves. You are there to defend them. You are their mother. You are their father. You are there to protect and provide. That's what you're here for, to protect and provide and to train them to be, or to guide them into being a decent person. That is your job as a parent. Not to allow any and everybody and anything come into your life and in your child's life and then destroy their life because of their own hate, their own evilness in their heart. It's so many young women and men have no business having children. No business having children. Number one, they can't even deal with the fact that they have been abused. They haven't even dealt with the fact that they've been molested or sexually abused or verbally abused. Then they have the nerve with a immature ass and have a child with another crazy person. So you got two crazy people having babies. Then you're bringing up another generation of crazy people. See, this is what makes me upset. Take the measure. I don't know why people won't take the measures of wrapping it up or taking different measures to keep from getting pregnant. You know you are not at the maturity. Most of these people know they're not at the maturity to have children. And they bring these children in the world with a crazy ass. Both of them crazy as hell, just as nutty buddy. And then they want to sit up there and have kids. Then the kids nutty buddy, they going to school. Then you got another generations of nutty buddies, and then they gonna have some nutty buddies. Because no one has broke the curse. No one has broke the generational curse of dysfunction. And now, mind you, all of us have some dysfunction. We are not perfect. But some people are just down in the gutter with it. Just gutter. And it's really like, you got a bad attitude, bad behavior. You like authority. You can't have no authority. And then you get with another person that has that same type of mindset. You coming up with another group of criminals, another group of scammers. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And now the world is populated with people just like that everywhere. It's hard for me today. I've never introduced my kids to another man. My boy's heart and body is not meant to be played with. That's the quick. I'm telling you, Harley, you better say that. It is the quickest way to die. I know for me. I'm just letting out. Look, I'm telling you, Harley, I'm just like you. I'm a mama bear. You let somebody do something to my kids, y'all gonna hear about it because they gonna say Selena and whatever my last name gonna be at the time has been I guess now they got me for what, Capital One murder or something like that, maybe, I don't know, or self-defense. I don't know what they would have me as, but I definitely would, it definitely would be murder, and it ain't me. So I hope that you guys understand that not only are your children important, but other people's children are as important. Not to let, if you see any signs of anything of a child being abused of any kind of way, make sure you pay attention to it. And if need to be, report it. Don't say it ain't none of my business. It is your business, because that child has not a voice. A lot of these children do not have a voice, and they need somebody to speak up for them. They need somebody to fight for them. And I'm just going to say the court system, they haven't always did a great job with children, placing children in the right foster care, placing children in the right homes. The court system has failed us at times. So we have to sometimes be the voice for children that can't speak up. It was a situation where I had to, this one homeless man, he was out there by a Dollar Tree one day, and he was out there begging for money. And I'm talking to the man because he had a child there. And me and another lady went into the store. She was talking about, and I told her, yeah, go ahead and call the police, because I don't think that child should not be out there with him while he begging people for money. That's child abuse. That's neglect. The child was looking dirty. Child probably was hungry, haven't ate. So we had to wait there until the police came. And I don't know, I hope they put the child in another home, or in in a better home, because I don't know why he had that child. I guess to get more money, if they was to see a child sitting next to him looking hungry and dirty. And people just need, and that's another thing. If you can't afford children, don't have them. Don't sit up here and then lay up on the system all day. Or then if you don't lay on the system, you begging, asking people for money, having the child looking all dirty and hungry looking. Like, what's wrong with these people? I'm like my grandmother. Some of these people need a good ass whooping. They are out of order. Don't have children if you can't afford children. Don't have children if you crazy and you've been beat the hell out of them. Let children stay in heaven. Children, let them stay in the children's heaven. Don't bring them down here in this world with your crazy self, and you are so dysfunctional, you shouldn't even have children. Leave them alone. Protect yourself. Protect that other person. I'm just so sick of seeing two fools having other fools. And forgive me, I don't want to be offensive to anyone, but I see it too much. You can't even teach the children at the school because their parents are ignorant. Their parents don't want you saying nothing to them, don't want you telling them nothing. And you see why the kids are the way they are, because the parents are who they are. If you got a bad attitude and you crazy and you ain't dealt and got counseling and dealt with your emotions and your feelings and your issues, do not have children. You are going to ruin their life. Period. You are going to destroy their future, period, because they're going to already be messed up. Then they got to figure out in this world how to make it, being as crazy as they are. Leave them in children's heaven, away from you, away from the people in this world. Do not keep putting children in harm's way that don't need to be. People know good and well they are not. And mind you, nobody has a manual to teach children. Hey, capital C, nobody has a manual on how to teach children, how to raise children, how to be a good parent. But there's just certain things that if there's an inkling that you could be a bad parent, don't do measures to keep from having them. And I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about to not have them at all. There's birth control. There's condoms. There's methods to not have children. Do not, and I beg people, and it's just like, I don't know why in people's minds they already know that they wouldn't be a good parent because they crazy. But I'm starting to believe some people don't know they crazy because they do some of the stuff that they do and they think it's normal. So I'm just gonna say I don't think they even know that they're unfit. I mean, we all look crazy to an extent, but some people, when I'm talking about crazy, I'm talking about straight up fool. I'm talking about somebody that has no reasoning, no logic, that has no sense of being, no sense of decency with dealing with people or themselves. They're just really messed up in the head. Just don't have them. You know what I'm saying? You doing not only yourself, but you're doing the next generation a disservice. Get yourself together mentally and spiritually. Once you get yourself together mentally and spiritually to where you can actually have and children, to where you can teach them and guide them in the right direction, to have them to be decent human beings, then that's when you do that kind of thing. And also having a stable home. If you are blessed enough to get married and have a husband that has that same mindset, that's even better, because a father and a mother is always very important to have. Sometimes when you have one or the other, it leaves an imbalance in your life too. But that's not always by, of course, the mother's choice or the father's choice. Things happen. But do your best by not making more problems for yourself or other little small human beings, because you have not did the work for yourself, that you've not dealt with the work within the things that you need to work within you. That's all I'm saying. I couldn't have had children in my 20s. I was a mess. I'm at the point now to where I could have a child, but I would want more financial stability as well as having a partner with the same mindset. So I would be really ready if I had the partner and we're on the same mindset and how we want to see our family. And when I say that, somebody that actually wants a family and sees family the way I do, or kind of close to it. But the main things that we have in common, we want to guide our children in the right direction. We want to do our children right, and we want to make sure that they are protected, that they're cared for, that they're loved. Those are the basics. Those are the main things that we have to come into agreement. You can't be unequally yoked when you're having children. Y'all have to be on the same wavelength. Really, you stupid. But anyway, yeah, so you have to be on the same wavelength when you're planning on having children with someone. You can't be on one area and this other person's on a way other area. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So that is something that you guys have to discuss. But then, like I said, when you have these type of situations, like I said, with this young lady in her early 20s, once again, another tragedy, was dealing with this no good guy who definitely, not only was he demonic, he has some mental problems, and he took somebody else's child because of his hate, the hate in his heart. And now the father has to deal with, why wasn't I there to protect my child? So that father is probably feeling guilt, because he feel like probably if he was there, this wouldn't have happened. When people do things, the consequences of things that we do, it trickles down. to a lot of different people the things that we do or the things that we don't do. Had she been in a, I would say, right state of mind, maybe she wouldn't have, I know she wouldn't have chose a guy like that. Maybe at one point that guy was charming. He was the knight in shining armor at one point. And then his true colors start to come out. But when you start to see somebody's true colors come out, that's when you're like, okay, I got to go. Because not only does my life depend on it, but my child's life depends on it. I thank you guys for stopping by. Like I said, I wasn't going to be too long on here, but this story just touched me in a different way because I'm just seeing too much of this. And it's a beautiful little girl that her life was taken from her. Didn't even live to her 3rd birthday. Because somebody, it was so evil, they was going to prove a point to everybody that I'm hurting, I hate my life, I'm miserable, and I'm going to take somebody else, something that's precious to somebody else, I'm going to take it from them forever. This woman and man will never see that child again. They will never be able to hold this little girl. The father will never be able to walk the little girl down the aisle. The father will never be able to see his daughter smile again, or the mama will never be able to see the child's smile again, because someone with the demonic energy, with a demonic heart, decided to take an innocent child's life because he wanted to prove a point that he could do it. Be good to yourself, be good to your children, and be good to other people's children. Everybody have a blessed night. Have a great night, a good Sunday. Be blessed. Love you to Reese's Pieces. And if you're not loved by anybody, you loved by Selena. So be easy. Love you guys. Good night.